Hello everyone, and welcome to ThermoFluidsUnlocked. This is the very first video in our series on computational fluid dynamics modeling using Simcenter STAR-CCM+. The main goal of this series is to help you, as new users, confidently navigate through this powerful software by walking through several widely adopted case studies. Whether you're a student, a researcher, or an engineer, just stepping into the world of CFD, and this series will give you the foundation you need to model, simulate, and interpret results in STAR-CCM Plus effectively. Before we dive deeper, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you'll get updates whenever a new video is released. I'll be covering everything from the basic workflow to advanced physical models and post-processing techniques step by step. What is STAR-CCM Plus? Like other commercial CFD packages, STAR-CCM Plus is designed to make the numerical modeling of complex thermofluid problems both structured and efficient. In simpler terms, CFD converts a physical problem into a numerical one that can be solved on a computer. To do that, we need three key ingredients: the geometry that defines the spatial domain, the physics that describes the flow, heat transfer, or other processes, and the numerical setup that tells the software how to perform the simulation and achieve convergence toward a meaningful solution. Before we start to explore STAR-CCM Plus itself, it is important to understand the workflow behind any successful numerical simulation, a process not limited to CFD. This is often referred to as the quantification, verification, validation, QVV cycle. It all begins with the real-world problem, the system or process we want to understand or predict. From there, we build a conceptual model, a simplified but representative version of reality that captures the key physics. For example, imagine we want to study heat conduction in a rectangular plate with known temperatures along its edges. Our conceptual model might represent this as a two-dimensional steady-state heat conduction problem described by the governing energy equation. Once we have defined this conceptual model, we move to model verification, checking whether our computerized implementation, i.e. the simulation setup, mesh, boundary conditions, and numerical schemes correctly represent the conceptual model. Finally, we reach validation, where we compare our simulation results against experimental or real-world data to see how accurately the model predicts reality. Only through this cycle, we can ensure our CFD simulations are both reliable and meaningful. Now that we have discussed the general workflow of numerical simulations, let's look at how this process unfolds inside Simcenter STAR-CCM Plus. The workflow begins with creating the geometry of the domain, the region where our thermofluid problem takes place. This geometry defines the physical boundaries of the system we want to analyze. Once the geometry is ready, we need to divide it into small numerical cells, a process called meshing. Meshing enables the software to solve the governing equations numerically within each cell. The software provides a wide range of meshing tools and strategies, and choosing the right one is often case-specific and comes with experience. If you'd like to explore different meshing methods in detail, I highly recommend checking the official STAR-CCM Plus tutorials. After meshing, we move on to selecting the physical models that best represent our problem. For example, turbulence, heat transfer, or multi-phase flow. In the upcoming videos, when we focus on specific cases, I'll guide you through the continua section of STAR-CCM Plus, where these physical models are defined. Here we can also choose from a library of fluids and materials, many of which comes with predefined thermophysical properties. Next, we define the boundary conditions. By default, all boundaries are treated as solid walls, which means if we are simulating fluid flow, they apply a no-slip condition. If a boundary represents something else, such as inlet, outlet, or symmetry plane, we must modify it accordingly to ensure the simulation reflects our physical setup. After setting the boundaries, we specify the convergence criteria. These determine when the simulation has reached a stable and accurate solution and can be safely terminated. Finally, once the simulation is complete, STAR-CCM Plus offers a wide range of post-processing tools. You can visualize velocity fields, temperature distributions, or pressure contours directly within the software, or export the data for external analysis using your own scripts or tools. We'll explore all of these setups in more depth in the coming videos to help you build both understanding and confidence as you start your CFD journey with STAR-CCM Plus. Let's now take a simple but very instructive example, the lead-driven cavity flow, to see how those steps come together in practice. What we usually call the lead-driven cavity problem actually has a real-world twin. Imagine the main flow moving over a surface that contains a small cavity. Inside this cavity, the air or fluid gets trapped, and as the flow moves across the top, it drags the trapped fluid, creating a circulating motion. In this sense, the flow on the top of the cavity behaves like a moving ball sliding in the x direction. To represent this situation in a simplified, conceptual way, we define a 2D cavity with 4 walls, 3 of which are stationary and 1 moving at the top, which moves horizontally at a constant velocity. This becomes our model problem, simple enough to analyze, but still rich enough to demonstrate important CFD concepts like vortex formation and velocity gradients near walls. Now, to simulate this problem in STAR-CCM Plus, we begin with meshing. The software offers a wide range of powerful meshing tools capable of handling complex three-dimensional geometries. However, since this case involves a laminar flow in a simple 2D domain and structured mesh, with uniform grid size is more than sufficient. Next, we move to selecting the physical models. For this case, we only need to consider incompressible isothermal laminar flow, no turbulence, heat transfer, or other phenomena. So we activate just these models under the physics setting. Then comes the boundary conditions. As I mentioned earlier, STAR-CCM Plus sets all boundaries as solid walls by default. Therefore, the only change we need is to assign the top wall a fixed velocity in the x direction, while keeping the remaining 3 walls stationary. After defining some convergence criteria, for example based on residual values, we can initialize and run the simulation. If everything is set up correctly, the solution will converge, and we can then move on to post-processing, visualizing the flow field, velocity contours, and streamlines within the cavity. This was all to give you a general overview of the workflow, from geometry to physics setup, boundaries, and solving. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, please like the video, subscribe to ThermoFluids Unlocked, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode, where I will actually build and solve the lid-driven cavity problem step by step inside STAR-CCM Plus.